Hello, and welcome everybody. In this episode, we contrast the ruling styles of old and new dictators. The 21st century variety of autocrat relies less on violence and more on the use of technological propaganda. We outline the various techniques they use to influence and control their citizens, and then describe several types of information warfare, each illustrated with examples. The 20th century was characterized by brutal dictatorships and hundreds of millions of deaths that resulted from them. The horrors of communism in Russia and China and fascism in Germany during that time are well documented. So why is it that dictatorships are making a comeback? Is our collective historical memory so short that we have forgotten Adolf Hitler's concentration camps, Joseph Stalin's gulags, and Mao Zedong's mass starvations? Why are people rallying to modern-day versions of these autocrats and losing confidence in democracy? The reason is because these autocrats don't resort as much to the overt use of violence. They pretend to be democracies while keeping their dirty work a secret from both their citizens and the rest of the world. They use modern technologies like social media to indoctrinate their populace and feed them a stream of lies. Guriev and Treisman in 2022 argue that we now have a new class of autocrat. They call them spin dictators. These dictators maintain control over their populations by pretending to be democratic. Rather than using violence and intimidation, they manipulate their citizens' beliefs through the use of digital propaganda. Instead of forcing consent through intimidation, they get it voluntarily. Spin dictators are distinctly nationalist and populist in nature, and history has shown that they are perfectly able to gain the support of their people. Modern dictators use several techniques to maintain their grip on power. First of all, they use technological media to gain support and popularity. In modern-day Russia, for example, the state has bought out many media outlets while fooling the populace into thinking there still is a free press. They do this by allowing just a small amount of criticism. Although nowadays it seems as if all of their domestic critics have been silenced. Anyone who dares oppose the Kremlin has been accused of being unpatriotic or has been labeled an enemy of the state. A second method is the faking of democratic processes. Most modern-day autocrats have elections in which opposition candidates are allowed to run, but they're rigged. Once winning office, they go about changing the democratic institutions to fit their own leadership style. They alter the Constitution, they buy out judges, and fill government positions with loyalists. A third technique is opening up to the world. These autocrats welcome foreign investment and profit from it. They then actively attack democracies with targeted internet campaigns to try to influence elections and popular opinions abroad. Examples of this include the 2016 presidential election and the Brexit vote, which were both clearly linked to Russian influence. Some examples of these modern-day dictators include Lee Kuan Yew, who ruled over Singapore for many decades, Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, Recep Erdogan in Turkey, and Viktor Orban in Hungary. For a while, it was hoped that the internet would be a liberating force, uniting the oppressed and enabling them to demonstrate, thus forcing democratic concessions. This is what seemed what was happening during the Arab Spring. But in places like Egypt, Libya, and Yemen, one set of despotic rulers were replaced with others that learned to use the internet to their own advantage. It's sad, but the Arab Spring ended in a very cold Arab winter. The digital propaganda used by modern autocracies can take many forms. The first of these is fake news. Many authoritarians attempt to debunk their own evil acts this way. For example, a security official reported that the genocidal campaign against the Rohingya Muslims was quote-unquote fake news. Autocrats often twist the facts to their own liking. One multi-year study of Russia's main TV station called Channel 1 found that good news was attributed to the Kremlin, while bad news was attributed to foreign governments or global markets. A third we might call weapons of mass distraction. This is flooding the news with so many reports that the reader forgets about the original item or gets confused about it. For instance, when Malaysian Airlines jet crashed in Ukraine in 2009, that was flight MH17, the Russian television network RT put out a flurry of conflicting reports blaming Ukraine, the West, and foreign media outlets. Evidence has since shown that the rocket was shot down. The rocket that actually shot down the airline was indeed supplied to pro-Russian separatists by Vladimir Putin. Then there is flooding the news with pro-state messages. Hugo Chavez appeared so often on TV and online in Venezuela that there was little room for other news. Old-time dictators used to restrict the message through outright censorship. Modern-day dictators do it by controlling the message. Instead of hiding the facts, newfangled autocrats distort them. Whereas democracies can be said to promote diversity of opinion, contemporary autocracies promote unanimity of opinion. Their goal is to get everyone to support the leader and his vision. History shows that people, if fed propaganda long enough, begin to believe it. This is especially true if there is no counter-story, as is the case with North Korea and China, who actively work to restrict all outside news perspectives. People under these conditions become a biological version of a computer that can be programmed at will. It used to be that people programmed computers. Under these conditions, it can now be said that computers are programming people. That is all for today, everybody. Thank you for listening. For more on digital disinformation and how it is being used by modern-day dictators, see our YouTube channel dedicated to this topic. Until then, keep fighting for truth, freedom, and democracy.